Hello and welcome to the Serving Love podcast. Today we have Rono and Sierra, who are the creators of Eden World. Welcome.
Hey,
Hello.
hey.
I'm so excited to have you both. And for those listening, I just met Rono and Sierra a couple of weeks ago at a dear friend's birthday party. Fell in love with them immediately. Their story is amazing. So I can't wait to get them to know them better along with you all. So thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for inviting us in and for all of your love and excitement. We're super excited.
Yay! I'm so excited because I love what you both have created. And I can't wait to get to know more because I feel in this world of personal development, it's so much about the self. Like so many things we go to don't really celebrate partnership and couples. And I am so excited to see how you are like, relationship as a North Star. I'm like, yes, finally people doing this. I think it's so important. And I see so many people in this world break up because they go through these expansive experiences. It shakes their whole world up, and then they don't know how to be in relationship anymore. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But first, can you tell? I know I heard this, but I love this so much. Tell me how you met because this is so good.
All right. Well, we've known each other our entire lives. We weren't always together, but
Which
I
we
was
won't tell you how long that is. You'll have to guess later.
exactly reveal our ages. But I knew him when he was in diapers because I was friends with his older sisters at the time. We were all in grade school together. So one would have a birthday party, all the kids would come. He'd be there toddling around.
5th Street, 7th Street.
Exactly. So we grew up together, went to the same elementary schools through high school. He actually became friends with my younger sisters. He ended up dating my youngest sister.
So we sort of joke that I married my high school sweetheart's sister. And so many, many years later. So,
Yeah, taboos abound, but now nothing's taboo. So yeah, so we knew each other very well. He actually even come over and mow our grass when I was a teenager, and like he was just like part of the family. So, but we didn't get together until years later. We went to the same college even actually, which is quite hilarious. Didn't I know?
but she's my old lady because she's 2 years older than me. And
2 years wiser.
But back then, it really is when you're in high school
Yeah.
or middle school. It's a big gap. But now
Huge.
it's, 10 years is not a big deal when you're.
Now he's my old man.
Yep. Now I'm an old man. Yep.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, we didn't hang out in college. After college, I was a film major. So I flew out cross country, ended up in Los Angeles for many years. And then I went home one summer for this festival that my parents had started. My dad was mayor of the hometown, and my parents together had started this amazing festival in our hometown. And I came home just to visit, and he was back in town. He was living in Boston at the time, and he was there to had a couple gigs with his band for this festival. And we bumped into each other, and we were like, "Hey!" And I was like, "Look at that! Little Ronnie Smith is all grown up." But I didn't really think, than just like, "Oh, he's much cooler now," because he always seemed a bit
Being a lead singer of a rock band does help.
Totally. In high school and college, he seemed a bit on the dweeby side for my tastes, but
Singing in choir, not so cool. Now it's kind of cool because of Glee and all that, but back then, you got thrown into lockers. And then you go out and you become a rock star, and then you're like, "Oh, you're so cool." Like, why wasn't I cool in high school? I'm like, come on.
Movie, but spicy.
It totally
totally,
is.
totally.
Hallmarks, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, yeah, exactly. Now, when I reconnected with him, he had just married somebody. And my whole family was like, "What the hell? What do you mean you just married somebody?" We thought he was going to marry my youngest sister because they had such more of a deep friendship, but they had a real karmic connection. And so when he came back to this harbor,
Turns out my karmic connection is just with the entire family. So.
yeah, exactly. It didn't stop with her. And it didn't end with me.
I mean,
Not in the
romantically or anything.
not in the way you think. It's not that taboo.
The other
Those kind of
sisters.
And just in case
Yeah.
they're listening, we won't say anything on the air. We have some more jokes. We'll tell you later.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, he had gotten we referred to this relationship. Well, I shouldn't say it if somebody's watching, but is it okay?
Yeah, it's all right.
We joke. We joked that it was his starter marriage.
It was a starter marriage.
It was a starter marriage
for her too.
So he was married. Yeah, a lot of people have those. I mean,
we were young and we thought we were doing the right thing, and then we realized we weren't. And she's happy. She's got kids. I wish her well, and I know she does me as well.
So the long and the short of it is, he had just gotten married. We hung out. We had just platonically, it was like buddying around that at the festival. And then a couple months later, he decided he was going to move to Los Angeles. And he reached out and said, "Hey, we're moving to Los Angeles, me and my wife and my cat and my friend. Can I come stay with you?" So
Her cat, but yeah.
her cat, somebody's cat. Someone's cat.
Badass cat.
There was a cat involved. So they moved out and we reconnected in Los Angeles. And then we sort of lost connection because he only was able to stay with me for a moment. And then he and his wife broke up. And at that point, we reconnected and I tried to get him to come. And I was like, come and be part of the Burning Man community. And he was like, yeah.
I was too much into sex, drugs, and rock and roll at that time. And I was like,
Mhm.
you guys are a
Didn't
bunch
realize.
of hippies. I don't know about that.
Party in the desert.
Desert
Desert
festival
weirdos. Yeah.
with your djembes and your hula hoops, you know.
So I couldn't quite get him over to the burner side of life, but our lives kept weaving in and out, but he had to go sow his wild oats. And so we were connected, but not really in each other's lives.
I was also dumb and like sowing my wild oats, as she said, because
Yeah.
I'd just been out of a long-term relationship. And so I was like, I'm going to make up for lost time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a couple more years after that we ended up reconnecting. I invited him to come to a local Burning Man party. It was the one year I didn't go to Burning Man. And I was like, hey, let's go to this Burning Man party. And so we ended up going to this Burning Man party, again, platonically friends. And he was my hoop boy. He carried my hoops.
We did this for many years,
Yeah.
like platonic friendship, and like even sleeping half naked in a bed once because it was cold and we were trying to stay warm, but still platonic. It was just very like just chill.
Yeah. Lo and behold, at that party, I ended up meeting this other guy and falling into a relationship with this other guy. So that was another 2 years before we even really
we might
connected.
have something that evening, but I was like, oh, I guess not.
Then she was on to the next thing.
I was like, yeah,
Totally.
sorry, hoop boy. I'm hanging out with this other guy. So when that relationship ended, it was a pretty big transformational moment in my life. And I was like, okay, something's shifting here. Literally one morning, this was like maybe a month or two into my breakup with that other guy, I woke up and a voice from somewhere inside my head, spirit, God, inside, I don't know, pussy, I don't know what the voice was, but it said, you need to go see Rono today. I'm like, okay. I don't know why, but okay. And I looked at my calendar and I lived in Hollywood at the time. He was in Venice Beach. So if you know LA, it's a bit of a distance. And I was going to happen to be in his neck of the woods for a vet appointment for my dog. So I was like, well, cool. So I texted him or called him. I don't even know if we had text back then. I texted and called you. And I said, hey, I'm going to be in your hood. Are you around? And he was like, yeah, come on by. So none of the viewers are really guessing. How old are they?
No, I remember we had blackberries and razors. The razor flipped. Anyways,
I reached out. He said yes. I went by his place. We hung up for a little bit, and he turns to me and goes, "You know what? You're going through this, reinvention of yourself. Your little guest house in Hollywood." He's like, "I think it needs a remodel. I think you need to just like reset everything,
reset your whole life."
And I'm like, sounds great. I was like, I don't know how you're going to reset this tiny little apartment in Hollywood, but I'm in. So we made an appointment, and like a couple days later, there he was, like resetting my whole life.
We took everything out of the house, everything out of the closets. We got rid of like 80% of her clothes because they were just clothes that had been around. She had one pair of heels.
I was a little
not one pair of heels.
Like she had one, but it was kind of not really a heel. It was probably from like her prom or
I was
something.
a production girl.
Which I appreciate now, but I also think it's important that everyone should own one pair of heels, guys and girls.
Everybody.
They should all have one set of heels.
Like the Beatles.
I told you, Rono, that she needed, like, where did that come from? Like, she just has to remodel.
Like, I'm always like, my mission on this earth is to optimize everything that we're doing. And
I feel that.
Whether it's relationship or it's systems, I'm always like, how can we make this better? How can we make this more universally true so that it's not just like towards one person, that everyone benefits from it. And so me going over to support her and having a better setup in her life and looking better, it was going to help her call in the guy that she wanted. It was going to just like, turns out it was me.
I know.
We didn't know it, but just like redoing all that. And so we redid the whole thing and we got closer because of that. And then it was months later.
Yeah, well, then actually we turned into business partners. I asked them to go in on this business venture that I got the hankering to do. I was already an entrepreneur and doing some stuff, and I got this other idea, and I said, I can't do both on my own. Can you help? So we became business partners. So we went from long-term life friends to business partners to then and we did that for years. We were platonically connected, and then there was one fateful night that things turned romantic, and it was after years of like not even thinking of him that way.
So we're almost
no
done.
polarity.
No polarity at all.
No,
And I had tried a couple times.
Yeah, he did
been
have
like,
yeah.
hey, and she's like, not so much. I was like, all right.
I'm like, you're like a brother to me. You dated my sister. You actually had dated a friend of mine that he had introduced me to that I became friends with that he ended up breaking up with. And I nursed her through their breakup. It's like, he was my business partner. I was like, you were like untouchable. There is nothing. Yeah. And he was a bit of a pretty boy at the time. I was more into the rugged, dangerous,
I look
men.
pretty,
yes.
but I'm a little rugged too.
I found that out later.
Yeah, you are.
Package situation.
The hottest thing that could happen is like me in a vampire costume chopping wood, and she'd probably orgasm right there.
Yes, for sure.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna need a video of that.
Totally.
I'm a good Lestat.
Yeah.
Chop water, drink blood.
Chop water, drink blood.
All rolled into one.
Chop wood, drink blood. There we go. Free blood.
One fateful
night, it turned romantic. I had to overcome some things to allow it, but I did, and we've been together ever since.
So what it's like the never-ending love story, like it's so good.
It's so good, but I'll say this just to be fair to everyone. It is a never-ending love story, but it has not been without its challenges. And there's been many times where we've both thought we probably should throw in the towel because of what you're talking about, because it's so unnormal to talk about your dirty laundry. And so we were in those situations where we're like, whatever the thing was.
Thinking that our problems were like the biggest issues in the world, not realizing they're just normal everyday issues that almost every couple has.
And that's how Eden World came about, is because we started connecting with other couples, and we were like, we're just going to be vulnerable. And they're like, oh, thank God you shared that. We're having the same issue. And then we would just talk about it. And then we'd be like, oh my God, we feel so much better. And then the more couples we started talking to, and the more couples that started opening up and sharing, we realized, oh my goodness, this isn't our problem. It's our problem.
Yes.
Our last principle is we hold it together, not hold it together, but
we're trying to hold it together, but we hold it.
All of us hold it together.
Yes.
That's what we learned. As soon as we heard from other couples, we're like, oh, it made it so much easier to get through the hard times, to have a love story that keeps evolving and blossoming.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful. It's like, I don't know you well yet, but I feel your love is so palpable. I feel your turn on. I feel your juice. I feel like the depth of intimacy that you have. And it's so tangible. It's like you've created this beautiful field around you, and it invites people in. You can feel that. So tell everybody, what is Eden World?
Yeah. So Eden World is a dream. It's a vision of a better tomorrow. Heaven on earth, Eden World, where everyone's needs are met, and that relationship, instead of being this thing, that it's actually front and center to humanity, because it is the most important thing that we have. Like other than eating good food and drinking good water and clean air, breathing clean air, the next thing is relationship. Our relationships are what create everything in this entire world. Our relationship to self, our relationship to our partner, our relationship to community, our relationship to the planet and humanity. And so that's like the essence of it underneath it all. And how we go about creating that, a world that works for everyone, is by, as our principles state, we have 12 principles. The first one is relationship is our North Star. And by putting our relationship before our individual needs, but when you do that, I get more of my needs met. She gets more of her needs met. And so it's counterintuitive in a lot of ways. But by putting we call it the third in our relationship, and not like a polyamorous type of relationship, but the third entity.
Consciousness of our
when two become one, like in scriptures and things like that, like a lot of religious text, they'll say, union creates two becomes one. That one is that third. It's that extra thing. It's the God self that gets created. There's actually a fourth right now with the three of us right here. There's another entity of the three of us being together. There's that other thing that guides us all as well. So that's another way of looking at relationship being a North Star.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you'd add to that?
So how it looks in everyday form is we are a peer-to-peer network and community mastermind club for visionary couples who care about being great at loving each other and want to be amongst other peers so that we can strengthen our love, our communication, our connection, our sex, our intimacy, all of the things by learning from other couples. More importantly, yes, we bring in experts and then we have expertise as well, but it's really about how do we do this thing called relationship in community in a way that's not play with others, which is you see a lot of couples communities out there that are play with others. And that's beautiful and amazing for what it is.
Sexual play.
Sexual play.
Mm-hmm.
Sexual play, yeah.
Depending on.
But in Eden, the whole idea is that how can we create a field where our relationship, again, is our North Star, and how do we grow ourselves? Basically, it's like a crucible for our evolution is through the art of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so putting ourselves in a community that is all dedicated to that quantum leaps your evolution and your growth. And it fast tracks the places where you would normally be stuck or swirling for years because you're seeing the reflection and you're learning of other couples. You're learning from what other couples have done or have been there or have tried. It's like a smorgasbord of wealth and wisdom and information about relating that then you can draw from. And it's a field of practice. So while books and courses are great, being in the community
on the court,
exactly,
yes,
is a way that can more quickly get you to where you want to be in your relationship because it's being modeled. And then, they say you're the sum parts of, the sum mean average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. That's more of a success principle, but the same thing applies to relationship. If you're hanging around other healthy relationships that are committed to thriving,
or a bunch of single people that are constantly bouncing from relationship to relationship, that's going to have impact on your
that's going to be harder, exactly, because there's just a different way of their viewpoint on the world. So being in a field of couples, it helps you become a better person and a better lover and a better partner and so on and so forth.
One thing I want to add before we pass it back to you is if it wasn't clear in our container, what's unique about what we do is there is no play with others. It's you're here with your beloved. If you're in a throuple, that's fine too. Whatever your jam is. But when you're in the Eden container, you're there to work on your relationship
with your
partner. And we've got plenty of recommendations for other places that you can go do that. But here it's like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. And that creates a real safety to be able to reach the levels of vulnerability and depth that our community is known for. We can talk about anything. We can explore anything. We can look under the hood at everything because we're all there to do the work in this container.
Yeah. Thank you. It's like, I'm like, let's shout it from the rooftops because this is so needed. Like yeah, it's so good. And
tell me why is it needed?
It's so needed because of like what I said. I've been in this world, doing pretty much every program and personal development and sacred sexuality under the sun for the past 12 years. And I see so many couples and myself included at times when I've been in relationship, there's so much pain because there's like nobody like paving a way that I've seen that feels healthy and right where it's like, no, it's about the us, I don't see that so much. And so, I mean, I'm so excited. I mean, I told you both, I am ready for my man. I can't wait to be in Eden World. Yay! Because it's just like, it is. It's just something I haven't seen it done anywhere else yet. And I was looking at your website and I also see how like digestible it is for people. Like it feels so available. I look at it and it doesn't feel scary. You look at some things and like, yeah, it's going to rock your world and tear your world apart. And even just looking at your website, it like invites you in. It feels safe. Like I feel the safety. Yeah, so good. And I love what you talk about, like visionary couples that are visionaries. I know you both are certainly visionaries. I'm curious. I mean, I'm sure you could go on and on about this, but what has being in a relationship where relationship is your North Star, what has that done for you both?
That's a great question.
Like, where have you been able to go because you have that in a way that you couldn't have without it?
Mm. Well, I'll say for me, I've been a very autonomous person for a long time. I'm much like when I was in my single days, I was like you, girl. I was like, I had it going on. I was independent. I had done my work. I had it sorted out. And when I got into this relationship and it became clear that we were deeply committed to each other, I I had a hard time really understanding. I was very much focused on my purpose in the world, and my purpose in
Mhm.
the world at the time was empowering women to love themselves and to awaken to their own divine powers, majesty as women
Mhm.
and femininity. And I'm still on that mission. I still have another business that focuses on that. And that gets to be included in what we do in Eden World because there's queens and kings and ways that we do our sovereign work. However, I was way on my purpose, and that most often came before this relationship. And it would, like, oftentimes parents that they're couples that have that become parents and have kids, they tend to then make the kids their number one priority. But what I found through this guy being more oriented toward relationship, it's in his
in
astrological
my
chart.
chart.
He's he's very much about relationship
Mm.
and the commit and yeah, in lots of different ways. He helped me see the importance of letting this serve my mission or serve our mission. And when I was off kind of focused on my mission, this would often suffer. This would often be a little bit of a battleground because somebody wasn't getting their needs met or somebody was feeling not part
Yeah.
at myself, or I would feel neglected myself because I'd be so overgiving to my passion and then wouldn't have enough to give to me or him. Right. And this is a very common problem we see in the realm of visionary couples that are
Yeah.
on mission in some way, want to, have a purpose,
It's a whole nother set of challenges with visionary couples, power couples, and then
I've
sort of
burned
the
a couple of
regular.
men out that way.
right. Totally. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. Yep. So for me, it's been recognizing that this comes first and allowing myself to fall into this work has
Mm.
served all of my work on myself, my work in the world, our work as a couple, our work in the world as a couple, our money, our finances, our health. Like this has been sort of the primary of our life because the math we like to do in Eden is 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 actually equals 11. It's like a multiplier of possibility because you're both in service to this greater,
And live
Mm.
more.
you can lift more. Exactly.
Yeah, we go further together. I would add a few things if there's space for it too.
Yeah, please.
There's two things that come to mind of what's happened with us. We realized at some point, and I don't want to name names, but we looked at some of the women in our lives and we noticed that, okay, one of them has a relationship with their husband that's not so great. It's a little bit, it's just off,
Mhm.
maybe slightly abusive, maybe not. She might be abusive. Like it's not a very positive masculine role model in her life. Another one we looked at, she's a lesbian, and so she doesn't have that masculine role model in her life or partner. And then another one woman we looked at has been single and perpetually in and out of things. And we looked at these three women and we're like, we never understood what their challenge was around feeling safe or being okay in life or all those different aspects. And even though they all had a great father figure, we were like, and we finally, when we looked at our relationship, it's like, oh, wow, like you feel safe here. You get to
Mm.
curl up in my arms. And she says that's her favorite spot in the entire world is just
Aw.
in my arms.
It's like, I don't even think I can count the blessings on, an infinite meter scale, knowing how much that has served me.
Because it gives her a moment to like let down all the guards, just be safe and held and
Mm.
cared for in a way that only, I mean, I don't want to say only, but that a committed relationship can give you, because there's continued depth. There's another layer, there's another layer, there's another layer. So imagine what that can do for her business. Like
Yeah.
when she's stressed out, when she's this, that she can come back to, we call it our nest. She can come back to our nest, our safe space with one another, and she can recharge. And for me too, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
And so that's one huge thing that of the benefit of being in a committed relationship and a power couple type relationship, because we use each other to repower ourselves. And then the other piece that you said, does it open any doors? I believe you said.
Mm-hmm.
When we got married, and we got married on 10-10-10, so it's a really easy date to remember.
Binary code.
Yeah. We felt different the next day. And we recognize that there's a lot of, especially in certain communities, about marriage, marriage bad, marriage this. And I get it. I totally get it. And there are aspects of the historical.
There's
and
some outdated models, we'll just say.
For
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
But our version of marriage is so empowering. And I felt that opened up doors. I felt that I got a lot more respect from people. Because this is my partner. This is my wife. This is a legal agreement that we have.
So hot the way you say that.
Totally.
And I feel like that's opened doors. And it also has made other women more safe. How do I say it? Like, they feel safer around me because of her. So I've been able to have so much deeper relationships with other women. And because we're open in our communication and in how we talk about things, so that like she's not threatened by other women and me having conversations with them. And I love her relationships with other guys. Like, it's so fun. I'm like, yay, you've got so many besties that are guys. And it's amazing. I love seeing her light up around these other guys because they have a different type of masculinity. You have a different type of femininity than she does. And so by being in a community like Eden World and adhering to the principles that we follow and being in this role, it's given us so much more, because I'm not relying on her for everything. She's not relying on me for everything, but the real things that really matter that most people don't even get, we got.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that. Thank you. Just this, like, you talked about this outdated model, right, of what marriage is. And I see it's such a thing right now. People are just, like you said, going from one relationship to the next, getting divorced, like not staying in things. Can you speak to like the outdated model a little bit, and then what your vision is for a model that actually works?
Yeah.
You want to go?
Yeah. Is that right?
Sure.
Unless you're really chomping at the bit.
I got lots to say.
Never a problem.
Exactly.
Why don't
Here,
you go
Fred,
ahead,
I'll
Fred?
listen all day.
Go ahead. I'll share this here too. One of the things that we're working on in our relationship, because we live in a pretty strong patriarchal society, and men typically have the stronger voice. And what we've recognized in our relationship, in our friend circles and in our groups, is that still even there with a lot of conscious
Even in
people,
very conscious relationships,
men would have the first thing.
men dominate the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Women, we tend to want to listen more and wait to speak. And then in that absence of space, the men just jump right in. And then we have a harder time interjecting. We don't want to be seen, as rude. And so I can go into a whole conversation in of itself. We've been practicing, our dynamic of who speaks when.
Mm.
I don't speak unless I'm allowed to.
Yeah, we're actually playing with a little kinkiness around it. I'm like, let me tell you when you can speak.
Because I too have a lot to say.
A lot to say.
But I also have nothing to say.
Yeah, no, we both have a lot to say. Okay. Now, what was the question?
I gotcha.
Outdated models of marriage. And yes. First and foremost, I'll say there's a breakdown in commitment in marriage. People go to the altar thinking I can always get divorced. That wasn't always the case. Divorce has become so common and so easy and so available that people go into marriage with one foot out the door a lot of times, knowing that they can easily get a divorce.
And thank God it's easier to do that. And
because people also aren't really, the courtship phase, there's a lot I can say about just the breakdown of cultural society. And of course the evolutions, like it's all, for better or for worse. However, so marriage is there's also this like idea, like I need to be married to have kids, right? I want
Mm,
kids. So then you've got this biological clock ticking for most women. And then they're going into this marriage because they're seeking to fulfill some sort of societal expectation or this biological timing or whatnot. And then they find that they pick a person that doesn't necessarily support the long term. I also find that the conversations about getting into marriage tend to be overstepped all too quickly. So women will just, and men, they'll jump into it because there's this fairy tale idea. And then they get down the roads, some paces, some years, and or kids come along, and it becomes very clear that this is not for them. And I think
mm,
that we have romanticized and idolized marriage because of the clout that it gives you in society, because of the ability to get to the lifestyle, the kids, the thing.
mhm.
And so, but the outdatedness is that, you know, you get married, you buy, you have the jobs, you buy, or you have the jobs, you get married, you buy the house, you have the kids, and you live happily ever after. And there really is no happily ever after. Happily is a constant thing that we are having to be on, like on the
Working towards.
working towards, exactly,
Yeah.
and working with every single day. And I think people don't realize that, and then oftentimes they'll just fall into the traps of what they've seen in their parents or in their friends' parents or what's around them, and that falls into a lot of stereotypical roles. And even though we, as you know, women and feminism and, you know, modern liberation, all the things, now that's starting to tip weird scales and conversations, and things are, as I know that you have probably experienced a lot because you're an empowered woman. But it's just like there's hasn't been a conversation enough in society that gives people a chance to redefine
Yeah.
what marriage is and also claim marriage in their own way. And we fall into
Yeah.
this trappings. You can even see it in some of the political discourse, like marriage is between a man and a woman for the longest time. Like, well, why? What do we define so much? Like, you know, we're not breaking down the definitions. There's a lot in that, but that's like an overview. Do you want to add anything in
Yeah,
and
I
then
mean,
answer the?
I'll just add in like the marriage is for a man and a woman, or then there's this union, but then there's this, there's that. Like, I would really like to actually do some research and find out, well, where is legitimately, where did marriage come from? Is it a Catholic thing? Is it a land title thing? Where is it?
No, it was a land
Yeah.
title thing.
But I don't
Mhm.
really know. Like,
Mhm.
I haven't really gone down the rabbit hole all the way to, oh, this is when marriage first came on the scene. And if
Mhm.
people are claiming it in a particular way, then that's an opportunity for us to grab it back, reclaim it in another way, and re-educate people on what it actually means. Because in my case, if you love each other and you're committed to each other, then fucking great. If not, then we got nothing, you know? So
Yeah.
what are we even
Mhm.
fighting about?
Mhm.
Like, no,
Mhm.
you can't love each other and that's not okay. Like, well, come on. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah. And so to answer your question about how it, what was it, how it has served us, or what's our definition? I think you said.
Yeah, or like what is this, this model that, an Eden world, like what are you believing? What are you moving towards?
So one of the things, this is great because I wanted to define this a bit more. We talk about the couples that are in Eden World are committed couples. And what that means is we were like, is it just married couples? We're like, no, because there's people that aren't married that we serve. And there's people that maybe not quite clear, but those aren't really a great place for Eden, because commitment means you are willing to do the work necessary to stay in this union and to look like one of our principles, to take things all the way through. You don't stop short of the mark because I'm behaving in a certain way or he's
Mhm.
behaving in a certain way. Now, I'm not talking about abusive behaviors or narcissistic tendencies or, sociopath, none of that, but just from like two healthy individuals, mentally, emotionally, everything, all the things. If I'm having a thing go on and it's not working for him, then together we need to look at it through the
Mhm.
lens of our third, right? Our partnership. How is this behavior supporting the partnership? Okay, if it's not, then we need to look at what needs to shift. And it's scary sometimes, and it's hard, and it's humbling, and
Yeah.
it's confronting to look at my behaviors, which out in the single land work just fine. I got it going on. I don't need to change
Just
that.
about
It's
me.
just about
Do what I
me.
want.
I do what I want, and like it's working for me and it's working. But in this dynamic, there's behaviors that I have exhibited that I learned from my parents or my mom or growing up or society that does not support where we want to go as a couple. And so defining our North Star together is super important. What is our North Star? Where do we want to go? What's our relationship brand, to put it in a more simplified sort of business term, so that we can recognize, well, that behavior that you're exhibiting, Rono, it's not really on brand. It's
Like,
also
an example
it's
of on
also
brand is like, we don't talk poorly about each other in front of other people.
Yes.
We can in our couples council, which is our group of peers that really support us. That's different, but they'll even be like, dude, come on, really? You're going to say that about her? And so that's part of our brand, is to not talk poorly about each other.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really defining how you want to be as a couple. And the commitment is, we're in this together. We're not going anywhere. You're my person. Doesn't matter what journeys we take, what explorations we have, what desires we want to grow into, meet, discuss, but we are here to go to as far as this can possibly take us, until we're very clear that something else is going to serve us in the highest, because we both believe that relationship is the place that can take us to the connection with spirit the best, and our connection to self the best. And it's through this reflection and this commitment that we're that enables us to grow more fully than we could do on our own. And with the commitment, we can trust and surrender more easily. Maybe that's still hard to do, but it's like still hard to do, because we're human and we like to fight. Our egos are strong and willful.
Yes.
But it gives me more of a container, so that I have the safety to feel like I'm not just going to be abandoned or dropped, because he's committed, I'm committed, and we remind ourselves of that commitment ongoingly.
Two little things, and I'll pass it over to you. Is in Eden and in our community, we don't define what your relationship is. All we ask is that you're committed. That's the enter, it's you're committed. And then for us, our definition of marriage or relationship is that we're here to make each other the best person, individual person that she can be. She's here to help me become the best individual person I can be. And then together transverse this world as allies, as buddies, as we got the buddy system going on hardcore.
Yeah, we're good buddies.
No, I see that. That was the first thing I said to you too. I was like, you two have so much fun together, don't you? I just saw it immediately. I was like, oh my God.
We do.
Thank you. That's so beautiful. I love that. Like, you're helping couples to define what their North Star is.
Yep.
I don't think most people do that, or they know what that is, or they even know how to articulate what that might be.
Yeah. It's not even something you really focus on.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I love you. You're hot. We're great. We get along.
Let's have kids. Let's
you
get
got
a
a
house.
good
Cool,
job.
let's do it.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll work just fine.
You'll do. Take the pressure off my parents from telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, but they don't really think, why are we in this relationship? For the sake of what?
Yeah.
And what can we create together that's better than me being on my own?
Yeah. And I want to speak to that, because a lot of people who listen to Serving Love are either getting into the world of personal development or deep in it. And that's something I feel so much for myself, right? After so many years on this path, I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can only go so far on my own. Right. So then there is this longing, this yearning for partnership, because there is that knowing, like, you talk about people that you work with being visionaries. I consider myself one of them. Like, I know that there is something even bigger, but I cannot get there on my own. And I know this. So what would you say to other people, women, men like me, who are like so ready for that? Like, how should we prepare ourselves? What's a good way to prepare for that?
Preparing your body temple for sure.
Yeah.
And
Which looks like what?
It looks like, I think a running list is very, very helpful.
Okay.
And so for
Writing
example,
it all down.
You saw in us that we have a lot of fun together, and
Yes.
that lit you up. So that doesn't say anything about us. It says something about you, that you value a partnership where you have fun together. So that's got to go on your list.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that there's tough times, because we have tough times, but the over predominant experience that we're having is joy and fun and celebration and goodness. So that's got to be on the list. And sure, like somebody might have a bad day, or as you're meeting your partners and potential partners, you're like, okay, if they're just like sourpuss all the time, or like they're just like, move on fast. So I think having an ongoing list that you don't just put away, that you're working all the time. I can't tell you how many couples that we've talked to over the years that were in relationships, and then they did this type of work, and then they're like, and they checked off everything on my list, like over and over again. I've heard that so many times from so many
I mean,
couples.
they're good on paper.
Yeah, literally. And so every time you're out and about, you're like, ooh, this is another quality that I want to have. Because the more clear you are, and knowing that that's true, you can have whatever you want. There's not just one person out there that's a good fit for you. There's hundreds, thousands of people that would be a good fit for you.
You hear that, people? Because I think people get thinking that there's no further down this path I go, the smaller the pool is.
Yeah, no, that's all bullshit. I've seen it 100 times.
Thank you.
When we were coaching, I coached for many years a program called Divine Complement, and it was all about helping powerful women find their match. My favorite story, it's a fun one. She probably will listen to this podcast at some point because she follows us. But she was in the UK, and she was an hour outside of London. She's like, "There's no guys out here. There's nobody." And I was like, "It doesn't matter. You will attract them in." So we did this whole process. We also have a medicine bundle practice, which we can talk about another time, but it's where you grab elements and sacred objects, and you put them in a bundle.
Represent what you're calling in,
and you
creating.
Pray with that, and you sit with that, and you pray with that on a regular basis, and you call that in. So she was doing that practice, and she went to her gym that she'd been going to for several years. And that day she saw a red Ferrari parked out front. She's like, and white red Ferrari, and dark gloomy England. And she's like, hello.
Yeah, right.
She's like, oh, I haven't seen this. And she goes inside, and she sees this dude. And eventually it becomes her husband. But she talks to him, and she's like, how long is this your first time coming to them? She's like, no, I've been coming to this gym for, I don't know, 2-3 years, longer than her. But she's never met the dude. And so she had to change her availability, her story. So if you have the storyline that whatever it is, knock it the fuck off. We live in a world where you can have whatever you want, and you can manifest whatever you want, especially if you're in this Western society, if you're especially in a free country, or even a country that allows you to have any sort of freedoms, which is a lot of places on this earth. It's very different than the old days. And although it may look crappy, it's actually amazing. There's less war, there's less destruction, there's more people being fed, there's more greatness than ever in the history of mankind that we're aware of. So you can have whatever you want. You can have the man that you want. You can have the relationship that you want, but you have to believe it.
That's beautiful. I want to add something to that.
I knew you would.
Divine compliment.
Yeah.
It's that, and it's a mixture of being in the energetic of that which you seek, being in the, if any of us have ever studied manifestation principles, it's about the feeling of it versus the idea of it. The idea is the clear knowing, but the feeling of it is what creates the magnetic match for you to call it in. And so oftentimes single people will be in the idea of it and the yearning, which then puts you in this, it's out there somewhere versus it's actually here now. And the fastest way that I've seen for single people, we used to do programs that would allow single people to be in the field of couples, and we haven't as much anymore for various reasons.
But we may
again.
A ticket order for Eden for singles.
And right? You now can join our community as a single person, by the way.
Our online community. But basically, we have found that when single people are in the field with other healthy, committed couples doing the work, that helps them really get their inner compass realigned so that they can feel what it's like, they can see what it's like, they understand what it's like, they're witnessing it, just like you did with us. It kind of rubs, it's like osmosis. And so that it just shifts your energetic and your alchemy to be able to receive that more. And if that can't happen for some reason, there's still ways of like looking at healthy couples and doing activities and exercises that puts you in the feeling state.
Set another plate at dinner time.
Yeah, we had actually Ariel Ford, who's a well-known author and relationship expert. And she talked about that's how she called in her man. She would set a plate at dinner. She would just act as if, and behold, and it's so often somebody that's usually in your immediate world, like you just talked about with that one client, that they've been around, they're circling your orbit, but you can't,
Like you two.
right? Exactly. Totally.
Yeah.
Right. You never know, right?
It could be one of our friends that we introduce you to. It could be, it could be that close.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yay. Well, I hope everybody took notes on that. And I took notes myself. So I want to bounce around a second because I was thinking about something you said before and also something that I'm noticing, right? You're talking about how your practice is like she speaks, right? Like she has all this, like Sierra has the space to speak, right? There's so much in the world that I see around that is around like partnership, around polarity. Now, I think some of the old paradigm is that like the man leads, which typically means he's the one speaking and doing all the, all that. But what I love seeing in your partnership is you do have so much polarity, but it's like you're like shifting paradigms because you're having polarity and like doing the things that these traditional schools of thought around polarity tell you not to do.
Yeah, we're breaking it.
Yeah. And
Break those.
it does take overcoming sometimes when we fall into each other a bit, like like Esther Perel would say, if you're snuggling, you're not going to have as much sex, right?
Right.
And so we have to create intentional practices that
Yes.
allow us the dedicated time to practice and be in our sexuality with each other, because it can be easy to fall into the comfort zone or the friend zone or the buddy zone or the business partner zone. So
Yeah.
there's a yes and to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And what I would add to that too is that I keep wanting to say people that I know, but I'll just say someone else I know. They have a very traditional relationship and they're very Christian. And she often says, well, he is the man of the house. So whatever he decides, I'm on board to that. And if that works for you, fucking great. I love
Yeah.
it. I love a good, strong man that makes all the decisions, that speaks all the time, and the woman's just happy as hell doing her thing. I think that there's such a poo-poo on that. And it's
Yeah.
a really good system. It works really, really well for a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
because it's so much easier for a guy that is built to do more things in this physical planet to do those things.
Yeah.
And it takes the pressure off the woman.
Yeah. Women
And
are
she can
beautiful
nurture the
nurturers.
home and the
Yeah.
children and
Take care of that. So if it works for you, it works for you. Where we are is I feel like we're at like the center point to where the poles of masculine and feminine meet and move all around a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a really challenging place to be in because I would like to be way more of a big, strong, assertive man. And I know that she would really appreciate that. And that's a missing sometimes in our relationship because I don't cultivate that enough. And that's sad. And it's tough for me and it's tough for her. And so that can be a challenge. And then for her too, like she doesn't often cultivate the feminine because she's oftentimes in her masculine. She's really pushing, driving, which I love. And it's a fucking great business partner. It's fantastic.
Get her done, girl.
To have her drive. But it's not so great when we're trying to be romantic. And because then she's like, gotta get this. And she's like, whoa, can't you just like chill out? And just like, so I have to bring the feminine oftentimes. And so we're playing around with that. And I don't necessarily recommend this kind of relationship for the faint of heart because it requires a lot of attention, a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment.
Highly nuanced.
And going with the groove of what's been carved out is a lot easier. So in closing, choose what works for you and know that it's okay to create what you want for yourself. It doesn't have to be what it looks like in society. And in an Eden world, that's what we help everybody create.
Exactly. The bottom line is like you get to create your relationship on your terms and liberate yourself from whatever constructs that might be oppressing you or having you not be able to express or understand the full capacity of your relationship. And we break a lot of molds in that way so that, everybody can find their way.
Yeah. And thank you for modeling that because I myself have been in relationships with men who very much want that more traditional route. And I collapse inside of that because it doesn't fit the truth of who I am. But I haven't really seen it modeled in a way that also works for me. So I think it's really important for women who are like you, Sierra, and are like me, who do have like a big purpose, like on this planet. There's some place that we want to get to. There's something greater than ourselves. We're on a mission. We're working towards that, and it's a dance. It is like your feet are in the fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say one more thing to the single. I'm speaking more to the single ladies, but this probably applies to men as well. But maybe it doesn't. I'll say it, and everybody can try it on for themselves. I think that a sticky point when it comes to finding the right partner is like this guy did not meet my on paper at all, at all. But how I felt when I was with him and what he created, what I felt we were creating together landed in a way that had me overlook a lot of the deal breakers that I was very clear were deal breakers from being a single person and in the dating world.
I was too pretty.
He was a pretty boy, too feminine, didn't have a car, didn't have a great job at the time.
Just
like on and
sold
on,
it.
like on and I go on and on. Like he was not good on paper at all.
Mm-hmm.
But how I felt when I was with him, he was a player. Yeah.
A very bad one, but
he was a bad player.
Yeah, in his mind.
In his mind, exactly. I know, he played a play on TV. And I think that, and I wasn't even, not that he's gorgeous, but I wasn't even really attracted to him because I was looking for something else. And I think single people tend to miss the very thing that is showing up for them when they get stuck in all of these rigid rules and ideas. And I'm not saying if you want to have kids and you meet somebody that says, maybe, I don't know, that's, there's a deal breaker there. Get clear on your deal breakers, put them out on the table early on. So you're not wasting each other's time and getting caught in the, the chemistry and the ideology and all the fantasy, but also be mindful of what is actually a deal breaker and what's workable. So that if somebody does show up, that you, like Ellison Armstrong of Understand Men teaches, women don't need to be sexually attracted to fall in love. They can be charmed and enchanted. They can really find attraction and grow attraction. And so oftentimes women are like, he's not this or he's not that. But then, and like Sex and the City had a really good, like when Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
The bald lawyer, right? She's not her guy versus the other guy, right? Not her guy, but look at how he made her feel and how wonderful he was, right? And so it's noticing that internal landscape and how they make you feel versus all of the things that you might have rigidly set out for yourself.
Yeah, that's just good advice across the board. Oftentimes in our sexual situations, things that she's like, no. But then when we try it, she's the most turned on, the most wet, the most ever, because her body is telling her mind shut that off a long time ago. And
Yes.
like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so just be mindful of our minds. They're great slaves, but they're not good drivers. Our hearts have to be the drivers.
I love that. It's like letting go of those preferences. It's like those are the things that keep us from having the thing that we actually want. It's like a way to protect ourselves from that like deep intimacy that I think scares so many people so much.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Well,
it's scary.
Well, tell us, what are you two up to now? Do you have anything coming up? Tell us everything.
Yeah, like a couple big things that we have coming up. We just finished, and we're about to roll out to the greater community. We did a course over an entire year that many couples paid $3,000 to $5,000 for to be in the course throughout the whole year, and it's called Love Stories Revisited.
It's so good.
There's 10 chapters, and
it's really 5 chapters.
5 chapters with two parts
modules,
to each chapter.
2 parts, exactly.
We go into the bedroom of your relationship and the boardroom of your relationship, which is like, how do you navigate the day to day, and then how do you bring that into the bedroom? And we tackle heavy subjects, like we talk about death and what that looks like. We talk about how to have an epic date night. Loss.
It could be loss of libido, it could be loss of job, could be loss of a
loved one,
of a parent.
And so we also look at how to create the purpose that we've been talking about, like how to set up your day-to-day life so that I know what she's taking care of, she knows what I'm taking care of, and we call those keeper roles, so that we know what we're keeping and who's in charge of those things. It just makes life easier.
And you're not squabbling about who's doing
yes.
We look at money,
clarity,
we look at sex, we look at all the stuff. So that course is going to be coming out very soon. So we just want to keep you up on that. And you can go to Eden World. It'll be on the page.
And we'll link it in everything in the show notes too. So
okay, great. So we'll have that page live by the time we get there. So check the show notes. And then we've got events coming up every quarter this year. We typically do our events the last quarter of every month. So March, June, September, December, and they're pretty epic and amazing to be in person. And then we also, if you just want to come check us out, we just opened up our community. It used to be $3,000 a year to be part of it, and we just opened that up for free to couples if they want to come in. And there's monthly calls that are free.
Monthly events,
workshops.
Workshops every month. Workshops they can come and experience and get to know the community, and it's highly experiential, and it's all online, so you can join from anywhere in the world. So that's an amazing thing for couples to come check out. And then for the singles, we do have an online portal in Mighty Networks.
We like to call you pre-coupled.
Yeah, we call the singles pre-coupled.
Pre-couple, that's a much better name.
Right? The pre-coupled.
Say that now. I am pre-coupled, thank you.
Totally,
Not
right?
single.
Exactly, which puts you in the energetic, right? Of like the couple. You're not saying I'm not in a relationship, I'm pre-coupled.
Yeah, but you can come in and we do master classes and things like that. And so you can come and be in the field of couples.
Mm-hmm. And you can join our Mighty community as well, our online communities. Yeah, lots of different things. Going on. Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff. EdenWorld.org is the portal.
Stuff every month that you can come and attend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for your time today. I'm so excited about Eden World. I can't wait to be a part of it. Can't wait for everybody to hear about it. And just thank you. It was an honor to be with you.
Likewise. Oh, and I would say, if you want to hear about the 12 principles, if you go to EdenWorld.org, you can download the PDF and start studying the principles. So that's a great place for anybody, pre-coupled or coupled, to begin their journey.
Yes, we'll link that too.
Cool. Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a pleasure. Yay.
Be with you. Well, until next time, serving love. I love you all.